The main item tonight is the settling of the neighbourhood plan questionnaire. An example's been printed out last year. Also, the survey will be online. I will now hand you over to Councillor Fisher, who's leading it.
Well, good evening. You've all had a chance to browse through it. Basically, the questions came as just some generic questions from the meeting. When was our last meeting? October?
October.
Yeah. And the template is basically just one I pulled off of the internet as well. So basically, that is how I came up with this. So I thought there was enough. Try and keep it as simple as possible without causing any unnecessary confusion or with questions and answers that would possibly have an essay per question. So any comments gratefully received.
Yes, go ahead.
I've had 20 seconds to have a quick look at it. It's all obvious. I mean, you know, important. The idea of a questionnaire is to extract from your clientele exactly what they think. All of this is absolutely fantastic. We all want this. So my question is, and no criticism to all the hard work that has been put forward, there are precedents within Cornwall whereby parish councils have put their questionnaires together. Have we actually done a collection of those and analysed them and tried to seek whatever?
Yes, we have. I started off by looking at the FOI one. Landreth aren't yet ready to do that. This one is based quite largely on what Menhenia did. Now, when you look at the questions that came from FOI, who did this about a year ago, and compare it with what's in that one, they are identical. Those are the topics that need to be covered.
Yeah, but before you popped in, I was just saying that these are all obvious. I mean, obviously, to most people, they're going to say important. So is this extracting the type of information that you want? And that is a question. What information do you want from your parishioners to guide you to the way forward? And is the second part of the question, is this going to achieve it?
Well, I'll take the lead on it. To be quite honest, I've looked round lots of these neighbourhood plan questionnaires, and a lot of them seem over complex, and they seem to be bordering into the parish plan, a revision of the parish plan, of some of the neighbourhood plan questionnaires that have been developed. And really, the neighbourhood plan is not about a new revamped parish plan, it's about planning for the future. So, looking at these questions, this is what Councillor Fisher and Councillor Moore have come up with as a way of shortening the process. We've only got a year to complete it in. And so if we have a pile of, say, 30, 40 questions, you just add complexity to the issue. Whereas narrowed down in these 9 to 10 questions, you know, it's up to you. The meeting here, these questions are not written in tablets of stone at the moment. They are an idea to go forward.
Indeed. Thank you.
If I can add to that, because FOI are much further along the road than we are, they are actually having the quantitative bit, that's that bit there, they are having that analysed for them by, find it.
professional body.
Yes, it is.
Expertise in that matter.
Yeah. It's actually being analysed by, it is a charity that is actually doing this work for them. But what they have also done is to publish on their website, you know there's a bit on ours that says anything else you would like us to consider. That's where, you know, it's more open-ended questions or responses, so that when you actually look at the kind of responses that are coming back, these are peculiar to Foy because of the circumstances it has. For example, the health facilities, they want to know about the future of the hospital. You know, so there are quite specific things coming out in this that are to do with the situation in Foy as it is. Some people want to reinstate the railway. And they're talking about, as has already been mentioned in this parish, they want a community centre with car parking. There are concerns over access to the town hall. And when it comes to retail, no to a supermarket, and then further down, a good retail outlet at the top of the town. So there are lots of different opinions coming there, and I think the results of that, which gives which will give a feel on the broader parts of this, put together with some of the qualitative things, will shape thinking, but it means that this probably isn't going to be the only question. Now, there will be other things as we refine it.
Could I reply on that very briefly?
Yeah, okay, can you let Catherine have a chance?
No, let him finish this topic and then, because I'm going to introduce something different.
Right.
Thank you, Catherine. That's very kind of you. I totally accept what has been said, and therefore, in order to enhance the type of responses that are legitimate and right and proper from Lanteglos as opposed to Foy, I just wonder if the committee would consider prompting some of the subtopics that might be of interest, just to get people thinking, oh, actually, I do have a view on that. That is important to Lanteglos. So, thank you very much.
Sure, you don't want to guide them though, do you? It's got to be a neutral thing. Because you could turn away and someone will turn around and say, you've loaded it to suit you.
That was like the Scottish referendum.
At the
They
moment,
loaded questions.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, I totally agree with what you're saying, but at the end of the day, if we said, oh right, we don't want any supermarkets, you know, I don't know, we want to sort of stop people buying second homes and all this sort of stuff, if you put that on here, you could...
but you
can leave it, if you leave it out, the only queer I
that's like you have one tonight, which are specific topics, saying, and you're asking how important is this? So that is the precedent. And I see that those 9 topics are actually fairly bland, because I think the answer is obvious. It's either important, I think the vast majority would say it's important. Of course it is. So what you're looking for is something more than that. Now, having bored people with your first 9 obvious topics, you could ask the question, are we going to get something meaningful from a lot of people within Lanteglos with anything else would you like us to consider? And therefore I would recommend that you do a little bit of prompting for topics which are totally legitimate to Lanteglos. So that is just my view.
Thank you. Well, that's right. And what we could do is, if we pass that one over.
We're also proposing that the parish's input into the parish magazine, which has to be in by the end of this week, will give people rather more information on what a parish plan actually is, or rather what a neighbourhood plan actually is. It sets out the things that we have to fulfil. And also mentioned in there is some of the topics that have already been mentioned at previous meetings. That is in draft.
The only thing I would ask perhaps is there's any other question to consider. Are you going to sort of have, I mean, you could have thousands of them, are you sort of whittle them down to 10 extra or 5 extra, or just see what the general consensus is on it?
You have to, the way I thought is it, with the anything else, Maureen just suggested it might be more appropriate to read anything else you might feel strongly about. Anything else you is to see if there's a recurring theme. So, because if it's just a one-off, I don't know, is that we should have a wind farm of you. I'm going to say.
No, that's true.
I don't think it'd be worth putting any stock into that, would it? Whereas if 100 people come back, well, that's a perfect spot for a wind farm there. Let's go for that. Then perhaps that's some. I don't know. That's quite a.
The other bit is if we made the questionnaire out of all the points raised in this meeting, which we put in the parish news, then this questionnaire would be reams of paper. And so this questionnaire is really a thinning of this, which is published on our website.
I agree.
And was put in the parish news.
I agree
So
with
we're on a whittling down process.
I totally agree with you, John, but half the people I talk to sort of don't really get what it's all about. And I'm trying to get people here saying, you don't know how important this document is. It's so important, it could change the whole parish. Yeah, whatever. So people aren't showing. We're in a catch-22. Well, you're in a catch-22. Trying to jump interest like falling in roots of death is a difficult one.
So really, we've got to get what you're saying is we need a bit more advertising in the parish news, along with the questionnaire.
Yeah,
So we really got to rush to meet the press this week. Yeah. Are you happy with that?
Absolutely.
Right.
more people.
Catherine.
I would quite value being able to do something other than important or not important. Suppose I think all 9 are important. I would like to have some way of grading the importance, because they might not all be quite as important as each other. So a scale 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 might give more information as to how many people think, say transport is number 1 if 1 is the highest, and how many think it's important but only at number 3. I don't know. It's just a suggestion. I would be sad not to be able to distinguish a bit.
So really, out of the 10 questions there, you reckon important should be rated, say, on a scale of 1 to 5?
Well, if instead of important, not important, no view, it was on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, with 1 being the most important, how do you rate? And you can have no view on the end for those who really don't give a tinkers about whichever one it is. But I just thought it might give a bit more information. Certainly if I was filling it in, I'd be happier to do that than just tick under important or not important.
I do see your point. The way I was looking at it is, if we go 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and no Q. If everyone just ticked 1 on any question, does that mean it is worth taking it any further? Whereas it seemed too much of a scope, and again, if there was a low score on any of the questions and we proceeded with it, have we gone wrong there? Should we be putting more effort into something else? So that's why I thought, well, basically a simple yes/no answer. Well, let's move on.
Maybe why don't you do a tick box system?
Well, that's what's there now, but
just a simple line of yes, line of no, tick yes or no.
Which is what you've got.
which is so that is effectively.
You might backtracking up, if you do a lot of questionnaires, which we, I fill out quite a few bits and pieces, you do get, is it most important, not important, you might get some sort of, you could probably analyse them, and you could probably get some sort of graph that will give you the data that you probably want, because that's what probably what FOIA do. I don't know how they're doing it, but we do all the work all the time about various things and bits and pieces, but we do use the data 1 to 5, because 5 doesn't, nobody cares, 1's most important. You might get a load of 3s or a load of 2s, and you might be able to see some sort of pattern there. I know it's probably more work, but it's more like Gavin's saying, you're more getting more detail of what you put.
That's what forms look like. So they started off with something that's fairly similar to
Oh,
what
there you
we've
go then,
got.
yeah.
What's the interesting bits of what's coming up here and the only other suggestions.
David.
Right, under number 1 question, I would suggest in brackets you have bus, ferry services.
I was thinking that, yeah.
And I would suggest in the preamble above that you say something to the effect that just ticking one of the 3 boxes will assist us, but we would be delighted for you to add additional comments relevant to what items which are important to you on a separate piece of paper. That way, you can find out whether people think it's important, not important, or have no view. But if they think it's important for a particular reason, they will. At the present moment, you're saying there's space below for you to add any comments to include anything we might have forgotten. Please feel free to use a separate piece of paper for extra comments. That's effectively asking for comments on additional items. You're not telling people or asking people to say, tick that transport is important, and then say it's important that we keep the ferry fares not going up, or that we keep the ferry running, or whatever. You're encouraging them to elaborate on their importance or not importance of all the individual items. Now, they don't have to do it, but it's encouraging them to give you just more than important, not important.
Yeah, that would be probably a better alternative than my suggestion.
Well, then
Rather
give it a priority numbering.
No, rather say giving the opportunity to say if you've ticked something that's important,
Well, no, if you
we'd
tick
like to,
any
or
box.
not important, we'd like to know, your reasons.
Yeah, I think the audience is all going in the same direction, and the question is to quantify how important it is or how not important it is, or you have no view. And either recommendation is going to help you analysing how important or how not important the parish believes. So I think that's excellent.
I think it's better to get back a load of questionnaires which just have ticks rather than not getting them back, but encourage people to elaborate in greater detail. Transport says bus and more right than ferry. Now, some people may say, well, we've got to keep the bus, we need more buses. Some people might say the ferry's more important. They can then elaborate. You're encouraging them to elaborate on the detail.
Similarly, with affordable housing, they can elaborate whether it's starter homes they think are the higher priority, or homes for older people that they think are the higher priority. And it would be interesting to know how the population, does view on that.
Okay. Well, no, I'm sort of making the notes because that's.
So what have we got at the moment? There's been 2 suggestions. There's something like a sliding scale, sort of 1 to 5.
No, that's been superseded.
That's superseded. So what we're talking about now is that there's the opportunity for more elaboration on what's there in that box.
In that
Or
box.
on
Yeah.
another piece of paper.
So if you-
Comment on the side.
Now, what I think, my suggestion is you say in the preamble up above, if all you want to do are tick some of the boxes, that will give us some basic information,
Yeah.
but we really hope you will add additional comments to whatever, your feelings and suggestions are under the various headings to give us a lot more detailed information.
Might be more difficult to analyse, but it would give you a lot more information, or potentially will give you a lot more
Give
information.
a lot more information, but
Yeah.
ultimately, you know, that there's the last meeting. There's more people at there, but we are trying to get the information from the whole parish.
Oh, sure.
And, if they don't come to a meeting, hopefully when they're sat at home,
Yeah.
you know, the questions that haven't been asked will be added, and as David's pointed out, if they're given the opportunity to explain their answer, it might move, say, any of those questions could be moved in a different direction, really, rather than...
Well, you said, you know, somebody might say, well, you know, a wind turbine up there would be a great idea. Well, you've got under renewable energy. If somebody thinks it's important, they can tick important, and they can then say, well, we could do with at least 3 wind turbines, you know, in Lanteglos Highway, or it's not important, we definitely don't want wind turbines in our parish.
Yes.
Or whatever they feel.
Or whether it's going to be large commercial things, or whether it's going to be something on their own houses. You know, individuals. Yeah.
It's better to have too much information than nothing. Because then you can argue, you've got your argument, and there's plenty of information here. If you need more time to analyse it, then more people can get involved with analysing it to make and narrow it down. The more information you've got, it's better to have more information than not enough.
I can tell you that Foy had a 29% response rate to that questionnaire. Now, if you don't think we got about somewhere between 600 and 700 people on the roll, that might give us 200 more.
There's so many holiday homes in the area. Not, a lot of people live here sometime of the year, not others.
That was, so you mentioned them. That's why on the bottom, tell us something about yourself. I thought, well, this questionnaire is going in the parish news, so it will be sat in holiday lets or whatever. But well, actually, if somebody sat there wants to fill it out and just say that they're here as a visitor, because yes, the neighbourhood plan is for the residents of, but the majority, this parish is largely supported by tourism. So really, like it or lump it, I think perhaps they should
Totally agree. Totally
give us a bit of input.
They want to come back down here and stay and bring other people here. They don't want to come down and stay. They say they'll stay out, they'll go somewhere else.
Also, the parish news is sent out by post to quite a long list of people.
That's right, yeah.
You know, second homers and other regular visitors and previous residents and all sorts.
But in response to Pat there about the number of people that are attracted to responding, take for example when the parish plan done the community service and facilities about the village hall, there were 316 responses in favour of a White Village Hall and 54 against at Whitecross, and 153 did not know. So 600, nearly 600 responses is quite a good turnout. So it shows you if we manage to produce a comprehensive questionnaire and you look at the topics that was involved in it with the vision in action. I know the community service and facilities is what you call a hot tub. And you'll find that the people there, when they've done this parish plan, you've got vision, action, main locations partners, you've got traffic and transport. There is an actual basis here, ferry services, as Mr. Hill said, shuttle bus. And so there is to a comprehensive document, well laid out. There is actually, the last time when it was done, it was a good turnout of responses.
I would suggest that one of the reasons there was such a good response was that I think it was certainly mainly Jeff Hurley went around to all the different organisations or requested to attend a meeting and explain about it and sort of push it. And so there was a lot of publicity. I mean, because I belong to quite a few things, I think I heard his talk so many times I could have done it. But nevertheless, it was high profile because of that. And, you know, whether there might be, what's the word I want, a case for similar sort of thing to be done to encourage people to take part in this questionnaire?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
The reason there was a good response, all the questionnaires were taken to the houses, and the people who took them went back to get the results. If they didn't get the results, they kept going back and going back. So, in other words, some people who would have forgot it thought, oh, we better fill it in to stop him coming back. And that's why we got a good
So really,
response.
you've got to be a persistent pest to go and knock on the doors all the time to get an answer.
That, and also is to go and sit down with them if they wanted help to fill it out, because it was a very complex question of the whole parish plan. But that's it, because there were quite a few people doing it and made sure we got the answers.
Would it be suitable to add down the bottom that if anybody wants one of the councillors to come and assist them or give them a bit more information, to make contact, and that will be done?
That is already on Pat's document, which is called the parish.
It's on that one, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be on this as well, is there? The other thing that we need to say also is how people actually get them back, how they return them. If they did it on the website, then it's automatically there. Otherwise,
Yes.
where would it go?
Well, when I was thinking about this, I thought it's going to. I did think, oh, why don't we put some post boxes for, I was thinking, St Saviour's Church foyer, phone box in Bedinning or something. And I thought, is that going to end up complicating things? So I thought, on this draft, then I just put either post it back to the clerk or email it in. But
Not everybody has email, and stamps are expensive.
well, that's the thing. I put that. I was on the one. I thought collection point is probably a good idea, but is that?
Is it worth making some boxes that we could put in places?
Well, that
I don't know. I mean, maybe we could buy some cheap plastic ones, or lockable ones, and put one, perhaps one in each pub.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
that's
know, one in the reading room, one in the phone boxes here. I mean, I know that we've got to keep an eye on them, but you know, hopefully the response. I mean, I don't know how long we're going to run this, but hopefully within a few weeks, they should be.
Well, that was the initial thing that me and
possibly.
Pat had discussed. Oh, we should have a collection for you. And then when I was writing this, I was thinking that.
Difficult, but if you've got more places people sit, I haven't filled that out yet. Like in the pub, for instance, you know, ask the landlords if you mind, look, just mention this, if someone could, one of these forms here, could, you know, get someone to figure out why it's there, or, I mean, I don't know how they're happy about that, but they're part of the pub community. People spend a lot of time in the pubs.
Certainly the Winkle Picker in Poor
Well, yeah,
can use as a drop box for forms for things like the Millennium and Mulready Trophy and things like that, and Poor stores too. If asked, I'm sure they'd probably be willing. I'm sure that the church would be quite happy for all three church buildings to have a drop box.
Yeah.
It's just to highlight the situation that we need more people to put them out.
And if you list the names and addresses of your local councillors,
Yeah.
just put it in there.
Put it in their door.
Definitely.
Just to go back to tell us something about yourself, I've got one question on political correctness.
Please do.
Are you, and at the end it says prefer not to say,
What, male or female?
and are you prefer not to say, and how old do you prefer not to say? I mean, come on. If someone doesn't want to say, they won't. But don't encourage people not to give you a positive answer. So I would suggest delete, prefer not to say 3 times.
Yes.
Either that or put other.
Well, that
Or even possibly confused.
that's the thing with political correctness now. Should I have other than for male or female?
Well, you've got to consider it.
Are you not, if you're under 18, are you not allowed to fill out the form?
Taxpayers, isn't it?
I wondered about this because although they aren't eventually going to have a vote in the referendum when we get there, they actually do have an interest because it's their future.
30 years' time, it's their future, yeah. Look at they'll be 40.
When we get the school involved, I don't know.
Yes, Mr. Charles.
The thing is, if you do it this way, you don't know who's filling out the forms. That's why when we did the parish plan, we delivered it to their house and collected it from the house. But with this way, you don't know if they're under 18, whether they fill out the form or anything, or whether somebody fills out 6 forms. I know it gives you an idea, but when you say about the ages, you will not know what age the person is.
Well,
The thing is, it's sort of a demographic, really. The data itself, in terms of the parish plan going forward, is almost irrelevant. All it's going to tell us is actually the majority of the people who responded are probably, this is my opinion, will probably be over 65.
Because we're more conscientious.
I take Councillor Shackley's, Mr. Shackley's comment, and I would suggest change prefer not to say to other in the first 2, delete prefer not to say in the 3rd one, but put under 18 as the first age, because then, you know, as it stands at the moment, if you're a very interested 17-year-old, you'd assume
there might well be something.
Particularly those that are, you know, the older teenagers, they might very well want to.
Shouldn't you going to get many 5-year-olds filling it out?
Well, no, but
I'll try, Lily, but we'll see.
But then again, it would be a good example for the elder children over at Neighbourhood School, if they'd like to pass comment. Because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the future generation, not us golden oldies. You know, if we survive by the end of this parish planning, we'll be lucky. So, so if you've got the youngsters' opinion, you will be looking at 25 years' time. I'm pretty sure that's what's needed, most important.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, I've got a contact with the school, and I'll see what they've said. Just say, you know, do you think they'd be interested? Where is any input into it?
Yeah, because
I think, especially, you're absolutely right. I mean, they might come up with stupid things, but they might come up with something so obvious we aren't seeing it.
That's right. You know, they're a fresh thought on how they'd like to see the I'm going to say the village, I'm going to say the parish in the future.
You see, you're not a harsh man.
I'm a country and village boy.
A 15-20 minute project at Pulrun School at the fantastic.
Yes.
I'll ask Sarah the head and see what she says, because I think, like you said, I think it's quite important.
You
There
know,
might be something that, oh no, but she might say, oh no, hang on a minute, they might come up with some ideas. Like the playgrounds or something, you know, you just don't know, do you?
playgrounds, housing, community hub, facilities.
I'll ask the question. I'll see no problem. Monday.
So everybody would be happy we involve Pulrun School.
Definitely is.
And the age limit's dropped. The age limit will only apply when it comes to the referendum.
Yeah.
And perhaps if you encourage the youngsters, they will encourage their parents to reply. So you're attacking in 2 directions. One knocking on the door, and the other the children saying, "Mum, can we fill in the form?"
Or even Dad.
Or even Dad, yeah. Right.
What's the other thing I haven't worked out is what's the closing date going to be? Because obviously this has to be finalised and got to the parish news before the end of the week. And it has to be returned to, well, we're about to set a closing date.
don't make it too long, because if it's too long, people will think, oh, I've got oodles of time to do that. And then it'll get filed in a pile and get buried, or at least it does in my house.
Because if parish news comes out
The beginning of, well, end of Feb, beginning of March. If you said the end of March,
Parish
You're
news,
gonna
it's
catch
at the
it.
end of the month.
Yeah, that's right. It comes
End of
out
January.
basically, I think, sorry, I mean the end of January, beginning of February, sorry. If you say
So we want the-
end of February,
Because really
give
we
people
want-
a month.
Short month.
It's a short. We want the results back so we can then have have it analysed and the results published in the next parish news
For March.
for March.
Yeah, which means that if you said something like, get them to us by the end of February,
Yes.
But- Only got
that's a
40.
fortnight
yeah.
to do the analysis.
To do with us.
But you've got the time scale to do that. That's a lot of work for
Mm.
yourself, so we're aware
The
of
thing
it.
is, it depends what comes back, isn't it? Because it's either very quickly tick boxes, or we're going to have pages and pages of what we missed.
When's the next meeting, or when's the next kind of deadline? I know it's we've got to get on with it, but
So
You
the
see- you see-
14th of March will be the next deadline for the parish news.
Yeah, because it's always the 14th of the month.
If we brought it back to the end of the third week of February, how does that work? Does that give people enough time to do it? They've got 3 weeks to do it. Not enough time.
strike while the iron's hot, but also
Yeah.
it's not long enough for them to forget about it.
Well,
Yeah.
time you get it through the school. Myself, I would rather see it for the, what's the next edition? We're doing February, March. May, April, May. That'd be the April, May. Now, if we had the results in by April, then we could tie that in because you're compelled to have an annual parish meeting between March and May. So you could tie the results in with the annual parish meeting. And then you've got the 14th of May for the June-July magazine. Is that right, Catherine? June-July magazine?
Yeah, yes, that would give you more time to analyse it, which might be more realistic.
You might not be joking. You might get 500 people. Everybody in the parish might click out, and there might be loads of different things. Oh my word, yeah. Or they might just say yes, no, in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave yourself tight for time.
If you had a mid-March closing date, that means it's out there for about 6 weeks, and then you've got a reasonable amount of time to analyse it.
Sounds about right then.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It might be worth, as well as sort of chasing up individually, putting up posters like a week to the deadline. Have you filled your questionnaire? Please do so. More copies available from. You can drop it at. And plaster the parish with it, not just on the official notice board. Shop windows, churches, the 2 village halls, the WI, anywhere where there's a notice board,
Yeah.
put a poster up.
Yeah, you could also then have a reminder in the next edition of the parish news if we're not expecting to publish this until the one after that.
Though mind you, by the time the next edition is out, the deadline will have been passed.
It will indeed. Right. Get that one.
But you could,
Or you could say,
you could put in there, although the deadline has been passed,
Yeah.
if you have forgotten and you would like to partake, you can still do so.
as long as it's within the next week or something.
Like tomorrow.
That might well be worth doing.
Have you got all that, Adrian?
So yeah, we were just looking at the calendar. If we said the cut-off date was the 11th of March, that would give us opportunity to get anything into the next reminder in the parish news.
Yeah.
And if somebody skims through it over a weekend,
I mean, if you get 568 back, there's no need to put a reminder really. But if you only got about 150, then it'd be well worth doing.
Chase it up.
I
yes.
think you should suck and see, John.
Yeah.
I mean, like tonight.
Instead of going in like a bull in a china shop, take it steady.
Like I said, if you put them in the pubs as well, questionnaires with the box,
Yeah.
people might sit there and have a pint and fill it out.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just saying, the more people we can get to fill out, at least it's better for us, for the parish in general, you know what I mean, but...
Anywhere you put a box, have a pile of them, have a pile of them.
Yes.
We know roughly how many kind of in the parish, and you know if there's like 3 or 4 times as many, you know someone's messes us around. But hopefully they'll take it serious enough that it's serious enough document.
So if we can just run through, Adrian, the points we've raised this evening.
To change the wording on the top to just ticking a box will assist us in the survey. Please use the comments box to explain your answers, to try and get a bit more out.
Well, elaborate.
To elaborate. What else have we done? We've added
Under 18s.
we've added ferry to number 1. Number 9, I put brackets there for health facilities and wellbeing would be doctor, surgery, village hall. We haven't decided. With regards to the anything else you'd like us to consider, did you want the wording changed to anything else you might feel strongly about?
Well, I consider it's the same kind of thing.
It's the same question, but different way.
Prefer not to say you want to get rid of that.
Yeah.
That's it. So are you male, female, other? Are you full-time resident, holiday homer, visitor, other? How old are you, under 18? But no, prefer not to say.
Because if they prefer not to say, they don't have to circle it.
No,
Well,
legally that they don't.
Just leave it, eh?
Yeah.
They don't leave it.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Kelly.
That's what I mean.
Should number 10 be community facilities?
What, an addition after 9? So you reckon add a number 10 in for community facilities?
I do.
Right,
Some
did
people
you
say
get
that we've got too many, it's a movable feast.
Feast.
And I don't know the legislation with the money for the 4 houses, the 106 agreement monies, is that still the stand? Has the parish still got the ability to think about investing that money into a community project, etc., etc.?
So what? Sorry, community facilities.
That'd be incorporating health centre, hub.
Skateboard
Yeah,
park.
but it might
So
be
would that
right
not
here to
be
list
changed?
them, that's what you're saying, because people might not consider that. That's what you mean about it, really.
So I'm confused myself, because number 9 is health and well-being, which I thought incorporated that.
Or you could you make number 9 and put community facilities, health and well-being in community facilities, and that would keep.
They're not necessarily the
You'd
same.
Or should I just?
You'd like community facilities as a separate item, separate.
Well,
I think
shall I change
that makes a
9?
lot of sense, actually.
Shall I change 9 to health facilities and have 10 community facilities?
Yes.
Yes.
Done.
Good idea.
What's wrong with well-being?
Health and well-being. Well, that can stay because that's
Yeah,
sort
leave
of
that.
the
Yeah.
same. But fine, that's what it's.
Right.
And to say closing date, the 11th of March.
Do you think about sort of perhaps put, well not important, but some sort of big headline on the top just to say that people just actually kind of look at it? I don't know, I'm not saying we've got to force this down people's mouths, but at the end of the day people go, oh yeah, but
Would
it's
the
got
11th of March be another meeting like this where we disclose the results?
No, the 11th
Yeah,
of March
March
is when they've got the in.
I say you might need a lot
You know, we might
to
need
get
a
a
meeting in
response.
March to just see where we are.
No, surely the next meeting will be when you've analysed the results.
It depends what answers you get, how long it takes you to analyse them.
You
Yeah.
might have something to say by the time of the annual meeting.
For the annual parish meeting.
Yeah.
You don't
So,
really,
so really, we could give a progress report at our council meetings, at a
Well, yeah.
monthly
Yeah.
Oh,
council
yeah.
meeting.
Well, you can
on the
always do
agenda,
that.
Just a
That's-
progress report. And then our next real big meeting on the questionnaires, the results of the survey, would be the annual parish meeting.
It can be an item
Yeah.
at the annual parish meeting.
it might be longer because it might be a situation, it's so complicated we need a bit longer, but you could say, look, this is going in the right direction, There are a few more things, we may have to have another questionnaire, you don't know.
Yeah,
You just don't know.
it might either draw another questionnaire out of us, or you never know, the information might be so concise.
So everybody's happy with the questions now?
Yeah.
And the time frame?
Thanks for your hard work.
Has anybody got any more
And
queries?
let's see if we can beat Foy in terms of the number of responses.
Well, they said it.
Well, I should say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Meeting closed.